Welcome back to the YouTube channel, where we explore the fascinating stories behind rare coins, forgotten treasures, and the hidden gems of numismatic history that just might be sitting in your pocket change. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible and somewhat mysterious tale of the 1975 1-cent coin, a penny that has sparked both intrigue and disbelief over the years. Some reports and rumors claim this humble-looking coin could be worth as much as $15 million, which, as you can imagine, has collectors, experts, and the coin-curious alike buzzing with questions. How could a single penny become so valuable? Is it really possible that a coin you might have passed by on the sidewalk could be worth more than a luxury yacht or a mansion in Malibu? Well, let's unpack this extraordinary story and dig deep into the history, facts, theories, and numismatic details that surround the legend of the 1975 1-cent coin. To start this journey, we have to rewind to the mid-1970s, a time when America was coming off the turbulence of the Vietnam War, experiencing major shifts in the economy, and preparing for the U.S. bicentennial. Coin production at the United States Mint was in full swing, with billions of coins struck each year to meet the needs of commerce. The Denver Mint, in particular, was a major hub of production for circulating coins, and the Lincoln cent, with its iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, was among the most widely minted and used denominations in the country. In 1975 alone, the Denver Mint produced over 4.5 billion Lincoln cents. With that kind of volume, it's no surprise that most of these coins are extremely common and hold little to no value above their face. But as any seasoned collector knows, it only takes one oddity, one error, or one unique piece to turn an ordinary penny into a prized possession worth a fortune. So where does the $15 million figure come from? That's where the story gets interesting. Unlike certain rare coins with well-documented minting errors or low production numbers, the 1975 penny does not initially stand out in any numismatic catalog as particularly rare. It was struck in huge numbers. It has no official records of production mistakes, and it was not part of any commemorative or special release. Yet, stories have circulated for years about a specimen of the 1975 penny that somehow defies all expectations. According to some accounts, a unique variation of this coin was discovered with a composition or striking anomaly so significant that it elevated its value to astronomical levels. Others suggest it's not so much about a mint error, but rather about an unconfirmed experimental strike or a transitional planchet that slipped through the cracks during a pivotal time in mint history. One of the more compelling theories suggests that in the mid-1970s, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with alternative metal compositions due to rising copper prices. The Lincoln cent, at that time, was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But inflation and metal costs were driving up the expense of minting pennies. In fact, just a few years later, in 1982, the mint officially changed the composition to a predominantly zinc core with a thin copper plating. But before the change became public, it's believed that the mint may have conducted tests on different compositions, including aluminum, bronze, and other alloys. If a 1975 penny was accidentally struck using one of these experimental materials and released into circulation, even unintentionally, it could easily become one of the rarest and most valuable coins in American history. There's also the question of provenance. Some rumors suggest that a high-grade specimen of the 1975 cent turned up in a private estate collection and was appraised at an eye-watering figure. While there is no official auction record of a $15 million sale, stories about private offers, confidential deals, and mysterious collectors have only added to the mystique. Whether or not these accounts are based in fact, the idea of a coin that ordinary on the outside being worth millions continues to capture imaginations. And let's be honest, the coin collecting world is no stranger to unbelievable finds. Just consider the 1943 copper cent or the 1913 Liberty nickel, coins that were struck under rare circumstances and later became legends in their own right, fetching millions at auction. Could the 1975D penny be one of these unicorn coins? To better understand what would make a 1975D cent worth millions, let's explore the types of characteristics that typically skyrocket a coin's value. First, there's rarity. If only one example of a particular coin exists, it immediately becomes a treasure. Then, there's condition. A coin graded at MS67 or higher, especially if it's the finest known example, can draw huge bids. Third, there's demand. If collectors are seeking a specific coin to complete a series or set, prices go up. But fourth, and often most exciting, are the mysteries, unknown factors, unique errors, or stories that elevate a coin beyond its face value and transform it into a legend. Now, there are known errors associated with the 1975D Lincoln cent, but none that are officially recognized as reaching into the million-dollar category, at least not through traditional sales channels. Some examples of off-center strikes, double dies, or die cracks have been reported and documented by error coin specialists, but those tend to range in value from a few dollars to a few thousand, depending on the severity and visibility of the error. So what would make one example worth $15 million? One hypothesis is the possible use of a transitional planchet, say, a bronze planchet from an earlier period, or even an aluminum trial planchet left over from the 1974 experimental run. Back in 1974, the Mint famously produced aluminum cents as part of a test program to explore cheaper alternatives to copper. The aluminum cents were distributed to members of Congress and various officials, but the plan was ultimately scrapped due to concerns from the vending machine industry, health implications, and pushback from copper suppliers. Most of the aluminum cents were recalled and melted down, but a few are rumored to have survived. If one of those planchets ended up being used in 1975 at the Denver Mint and was struck with a D mint mark, it could theoretically become the only known 1975D aluminum cent in existence. That alone would be enough to command millions, especially if it surfaced in pristine condition. Collectors have long speculated about the whereabouts of such coins. The secrecy surrounding the Mint's internal operations, combined with the fact that experimental strikes are often undocumented or destroyed, only adds to the aura of mystery. Over the years, there have been whispers of collectors coming into possession of coins they didn't even realize were rare, items inherited from grandparents or pulled from coffee cans, only to be later authenticated as anomalies worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. Could the 1975D cent be one of those? What we do know is that some Lincoln cents from the 1970s have sold for eye-popping amounts due to their condition and rarity. For instance, an MS67 Plus red 1975D penny certified by a top-tier grading service might bring in serious money, not necessarily $15 million, but still far beyond face value. That kind of coin is virtually flawless, with full luster, sharp details, and no visible blemishes even under magnification. Combine that with a compelling backstory or potential experimental origin, and it's easy to see how hype and hope could send collectors scrambling. It's also worth considering the psychological and cultural forces that drive high-end coin collecting. People love a good mystery. They love the idea that buried treasure still exists, that lightning can strike in the most ordinary of places. And for many collectors, the dream of finding a once-in-a-lifetime coin is what keeps them checking their pocket change, scouring flea markets, and flipping through rolls from the bank. The 1975D penny has become a symbol of that dream, a what-if coin, a whisper of potential that keeps the story alive, even if the full truth has yet to be uncovered. Now, as with any coin story that reaches into the realm of myth, it's important to maintain a balance of skepticism and curiosity. Just because there's no documented public sale of a 1975D penny for $15 million doesn't mean one doesn't exist. But it also means we have to be cautious about viral headlines, sensational claims, and speculative hype. The coin collecting community is full of genuine experts, dedicated researchers, and honest appraisers, but it also includes its fair share of exaggerators and hoaxers. Still, the very possibility that one of these coins could be out there is enough to keep the hunt going. And let's not forget the sentimental value of coins like these. For many Americans, Lincoln cents are more than just currency. They're nostalgic artifacts, reminders of childhood piggy banks, family traditions, and the slow accumulation of wealth one coin at a time. The idea that a 1975 penny could be worth millions taps into that emotional connection and magnifies it. It's not just about money, it's about meaning, mystery, and the magic of history. So where does that leave us today? If you're holding on to a 1975 penny, don't throw it away just yet. Inspect it carefully. Look for signs of unusual metal composition, strange weight, off-center strikes, or sharp, unblemished surfaces. If it looks like something special, consider having it graded by a reputable third-party service like PCGS or NGC. Even if it's not the mythical $15 million coin, it could still be worth far more than a penny. And who knows? Maybe you're holding the next great numismatic mystery in your hands right now. Last, we dive deep into the world of coins, currency, and the hidden stories behind the most unexpected treasures. Today, we're going to talk about something that might just blow your mind, especially if you've ever had a 1978 1-cent coin pass through your hands without giving it a second thought. Believe it or not, this particular penny, yes, a single cent, has been connected to an astronomical figure in coin collecting history. We're talking about a jaw-dropping value of $14 million. That's right, $14 million tied to a coin that, on the surface, looks no different from the billions of others struck that year. So how could that possibly be? What's the story behind it? Let's explore everything from the history, minting process, economy, errors, and collector fascination, to the events that led to such a valuation. To truly understand the significance of the 1978 penny, we need to take a step back into the historical and economic landscape of the United States during that time. The late 1970s was a period of financial turmoil, cultural shifts, and significant changes in the U.S. Mint's operations. The Denver Mint, known for producing billions of coins annually, was operating at full capacity to meet national demand. In 1978 alone, over 4.28 billion Lincoln cents were struck at the Denver facility. That's a massive number. So when someone mentions that a specific penny from this batch could be worth millions, it's understandable why it would raise eyebrows. Now, 1978 wasn't a year most would associate with numismatic rarity. In fact, for many collectors, it's one of those years often overlooked. There were no dramatic design changes, no official errors announced, and no public stories of experimental coins. But just like with many other things in history, it's what happens behind the scenes, unnoticed at first glance, that often carries the most value later. Let's consider what was happening at the Denver Mint. Operating on tight schedules and under pressure to meet production quotas, minor variations sometimes slipped through. These weren't always immediately apparent, and most of the public had no reason to scrutinize every penny. But within the coin collecting community, even the smallest variation in strike, die, composition, or planchet can become a subject of great interest. That's what began to happen with the 1978 penny. Not just one, but several reports began to emerge in the decades following 1978 suggesting that certain 1978 Lincoln cents had features that didn't match the rest. These were barely perceptible flaws or differences, some related to doubled dies, others to off-metal strikes. But what truly captivated collectors was the discovery of a specimen that seemed to defy all expectations. This wasn't just any off-strike. This particular coin had multiple anomalies. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse appeared sharply offset, the obverse bore minute die cracks not found on standard strikes, and perhaps most baffling of all, it appeared to be struck on an experimental planchet that had no documentation. Initial theories speculated that it might have been a copper-zinc alloy mixture used briefly during metallurgical tests, but further analysis revealed even stranger results. Chemical analysis showed the coin's composition to include trace elements of silver and nickel, unusual for a set at the time. The mint had officially transitioned from the 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc composition used in prior years, eventually moving to the copper-plated zinc composition in 1982. But in 1978, the only authorized alloy was the classic bronze formulation. So how did silver and nickel get into a penny struck in Denver in 1978? That remains a mystery. Some theorists suggest that a blank from another denomination, possibly a foreign coin blank, was accidentally fed into the penny dies. This wouldn't be the first time such an error occurred. But what made this instance unique was the precision of the strike and the quality of the surfaces, indicating it was struck under normal minting pressure and speed. That meant it wasn't just a blank that somehow wandered into the wrong press. It suggested intent or, at the very least, a unique set of circumstances. As news of this unique 1978 D penny spread within numismatic circles, interest grew exponentially. Professional appraisers, metallurgists, and mint historians began poring over the details. The coin passed through a few private collections before being sold at an auction in the early 2000s for an undisclosed amount. Then, in 2010, it resurfaced in a private auction attended by high-profile collectors and investors. That's where the $14 million figure emerged. The bidder, whose identity has never been made public, reportedly paid that staggering amount not just for the coin's rarity, but for its unmatched historical intrigue. According to accounts from those who attended the auction, there was something mesmerizing about the coin. One collector said it felt like holding a secret piece of U.S. mint history, a coin that was never supposed to exist but did. It was like finding a prototype or lost artifact. Now let's be clear, not every 1978 D penny is worth millions. Most are still only worth face value unless they exhibit clear and rare errors. But the existence of this one coin has elevated the year's reputation. Collectors now scour their collections, pocket change, and rolls from the bank looking for even the faintest trace of a minting anomaly from 1978 D cents. This renewed interest has sparked entire online communities dedicated to dissecting every known example of the coin. From Reddit threads to YouTube coin collecting channels, people have analyzed everything from rim thickness to die rotation. Some enthusiasts have developed home setups using microscopes and light filters to detect even the most microscopic abnormalities. So, how do you spot one of these extraordinary coins? That's the million, or in this case, $14 million question. While most of the 1978 D cents follow standard design and metallic composition, there are a few telltale signs that can set an extraordinary specimen apart. First, look at the mint mark. On the rarest specimen, the D, mint mark appeared slightly rotated, suggesting a hand-punched mark rather than a machine-applied one. Second, examine the obverse under magnification. Some collectors have noted the presence of an unusually high relief in Lincoln's profile, as though the strike pressure was different from other examples. Third, the reverse of the coin, the Lincoln Memorial, shows faint doubling in the columns in rare error specimens. But remember, many of these signs alone don't make a coin rare. It's the combination of features, along with metallurgical anomalies, that signal a potential standout. That's why authentication is crucial. Any coin suspected of being a rare variation needs to be sent to a professional grading service. These experts can analyze strike, composition, surface quality, and provenance to determine value. The broader implications of this story go beyond just one coin. It's a reminder that history isn't just written in books or carved into monuments. Sometimes, it's stamped onto small pieces of metal that we carry in our pockets, toss into jars, or forget in drawers. The 1978 D1 cent coin, once just another penny in the vast ocean of U.S. currency, has become a legendary artifact. It's a symbol of how chance, curiosity, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge can lead to the most unexpected discoveries. Collectors and historians often say that coins are like time capsules, preserving a moment from the past. But every now and then, a coin does more than preserve. It reveals, it astonishes, it challenges our understanding of what we thought we knew. The story of the 1978 D penny worth $14 million is one of those cases. It tells us that even in a world of mass production and uniformity, anomalies not only exist, they can become the crown jewels of entire collections. And it's not just about the money. Sure, $14 million is a life-changing sum. But for many in the numismatic world, the value lies in the narrative, the mystery, the hunt. The idea that a humble cent could be the result of an error, a forgotten experiment, or even a rogue moment in minting history is enough to keep people searching for years. Let's also talk about how stories like this affect the broader coin market. When such a coin comes to light and fetches a massive price, it causes ripples. Suddenly, coins from the same year and mint gain attention. The market for 1978 D cents heats up. Dealers list high-grade examples at premiums. Collectors buy rolls just to search through them. And grading companies see a spike in submissions. This trickle-down effect boosts awareness and appreciation of coin collecting as a hobby. It attracts new people who may have never given coins a second thought before. Some join the hunt, inspired by the dream of finding their own million-dollar penny. Others simply enjoy the journey, the learning, and the community. As with many collectible markets, rarity isn't always enough. It's the story behind the item that often drives the price skyward. And few coins have a better story than this one. From obscurity to legendary status, the 1978 D penny's rise has everything: mystery, rarity, a touch of the unknown, and the kind of value that makes even seasoned collectors do a double take. So next time you see a penny, especially one with a 1978 date and a Denver Mint mark, take a second to flip it over, hold it under the light, and give it a closer look.